All righty then.
I have this case of life applications. Every day.
We'll understand. Hey, what is all of this stuff? I can't.
You can't do that, Dr. G.
Yeah, you know what?
That's
That's pure sugar.
Oh, good.
Pure.
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Well, that's not true.
Well, you got nothing to do, but you really don't.
Shouldn't, but yeah, I do.
Like food, sugar. Like a pancake.
Exactly. Exactly what I crave and desire. Those, what are they called? Looks like that. Pralines. Pralines.
Yeah.
That's just sugar, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like
Like a bit of sugar. Yeah, like probably.
I hadn't had any sugar mints.
Yeah. I like it. Always.
Guys, what's the lady in black's name?
I'm not really sure. All right.
Round up the usual suspects.
Yes, sir. On the fence, process, on the fence, process, on the fence, let's go, Brian. On the fence, let's go.
It's draining my. One day I can be like you when I grow up.
Well, good morning. Going to get started. Looks like everybody is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And did you not find a place in the group? You can't sit at the CI's desk. I mean the RA's desk. We got to find a place in the group. This morning, of course, we need to make sure that we sign in on the right sheet. We say that all the time, but we need to do that. Now find a place in the group, please. Get over here next to the group. And let me share this with you real quickly. We do need to sit inside the group, and the reasoning for that is therapeutic. Because if we're sitting outside the group somewhere else, we're not actually, even though we may physically be in the group, we're not psychologically in the group. We have separated ourselves from the group. So that's something we don't need to be doing. So sign off on the right sheet. Everybody has their book. And we're going to be on page 21 for just a quick second. A little bit of housekeeping stuff tomorrow. Not sure what we'll be doing. Of course, y'all know that I'm not. I don't do the group on Fridays. Boy, it didn't take you long. Yeah, you're in group for like what, 30 seconds, and then she came and got you.
That's hard.
I know it's hard. So I won't be here tomorrow, so I don't know. You'll have someone else doing the group tomorrow because I'm not on. I have to do other things on Friday, so I'm not going to be here. So in our book, we're going to look at the last two on here because I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. So emotional health, we're going through the stages on emotional health, and we're going to be talking a little bit about emotional health today, but we're going to continue in the same vein that we were in yesterday. Yesterday we talked about navigating the holidays. Holidays come up, and holidays can do a lot of strange and crazy things. And so we're going to go back through that, not what we did yesterday, but we're going to continue in that just a little bit this today, and we may take different breaks and stuff like that because we're kind of on a holiday schedule already. So we'll take a look at some of those things. After we get to the place where we are in an action stage, which means, look, I know that I have some emotional issues. Now, not everybody in here absolutely has to have an emotional issue, but I will tell you what, I have some emotional issues. Sometimes I get emotional about things. Sometimes I have some anger issues. Sometimes I have some frustration issues. Sometimes I get a little anxious and things like that. And one of the things that anxiety will do is steal your sleep. So sometimes I don't get enough sleep and things like that. But once we figure out how to deal with those things, we can deal with them a little bit better. So in the action stage, I have come to the place where I believe I understand that I do have emotions, and those emotions sometimes can kick me in my buttocks, right? And so today is Friday Eve, and so on Friday Eve, we understanding that we have emotions and all of that stuff, we can use that to help our self-esteem. The use of drugs and alcohol a lot of the times brings us to that place of low self-esteem. We have shame, guilt, remorse, all of that stuff about some of the stuff we've done, but we should be able to bring our self-esteem up to a better level, right? We ought to have high self-esteem. Because I'm going to tell you something, everybody that has our disease has done some stuff, right? Everybody. I mean, everybody. So, if we have if we've done some stuff, that can bring our self-esteem down to a low place, and we need to be working to get that up. So that's number 4. That's where we hit, is self-esteem and healing. We're currently engaged in honest, positive work to address your emotional health concern. Who do I have to be honest with? Me first. Yeah, I got to be honest with myself. Also, I need to be honest with the people who are trying to help me. When I'm going to sit in front of my counselor or sit in front of the therapist or someone like that, I need to get totally honest with those people and just tell them the truth. Just talk about my feelings and stuff like that. Because I'll tell you, when you go talk to your counselor, now we have a kind of a fluid situation here, which makes it a little bit harder, but all of this stuff is confidential. It's all confidential. So people are not going to be, between you and your therapist, nobody's going to know what you guys are talking about. Now, what's the only thing that we have to report?
Suicide.
Yeah, if you tell me, well, I'm going to go out and kill myself, we have to report that. Or I'm going to go home and break my children's legs so that they can't get away. That's kind of child abuse. We got to report that. But other than that, or elder abuse, if you guys tell your counselor, I'm going to go out here after a while and beat up Dr. Garner, you're going to jail. Because that's elder abuse, right? It is. Come on, I'm older than you. So, thank you, sir. You do good work for a young guy. Yeah. So,
recovery for life.
say it again.
So you're in recovery for life.
Oh, that's true. Okay.
Just you and I both.
And so the last one tomorrow is going to be meaning and understanding. At some place, I need to get my emotions under control so that my life has meaning and I understand what's going on. You have a rational understanding of your emotional health. Is who I am. Now, I know that and look, it took me a few years to get there, but I know that if this happens in my environment, that's going to happen in my emotional place. I'm going to get emotional about something. And some of mine are goofy. If somebody comes in and say, "Well, you didn't complete that report the way it's supposed to be repeated. It's supposed to be done." I can get a little emotional about that because my work, I'm a perfectionist. I want things to be right, and that's not a good thing being a perfectionist. So I went in there this morning, and there was a treatment plan laying on my desk. And it's not the best treatment plan in the world. And so what I'm thinking, I roll that treatment plan over and I looked at that treatment plan and I said, uh-oh, my boss has gotten that treatment plan and taken a look at that treatment plan, didn't like that treatment plan and put it on my desk. Uh-oh. So she's going to come yell at me about that. So in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how am I going to deal with all of that kind of stuff. And man, that just kind of hijacked what I was doing. So I hung around there for a few minutes. And then I went to get something off of the computer, off of the printer, and the lady in there said, "Hey, here's a whole bunch of other stuff that's just been on that printer, and I was wondering if you needed it," and it just dawned on me that's where that came from. So nobody has said anything. So, we need to understand that sometimes my emotions can be lying to me, right? Okay. So in this place here, I'm at that place of understanding. You are fully participating in maintenance. You accept the work you are doing is necessary for ongoing positive emotional health. What's one of the best things to get positive emotional health going on in my life? Being willing to talk about it. See, that's what all of this is that we're doing in here. We don't do medical stuff. This is talk therapy. So we're going to talk about it. So one of the best things for us to do is, if we have some emotional issues, we need to talk about it. So how many people have anger issues? All these. I have anger. Yeah. All you ladies over, I can see you. I see the lady over there with her hand up, doing all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So, y'all, some of you have been here long enough to know what I think about anger issues. So, Mr. McLean?
Sir.
What makes you angry?
Be honest with you.
No, tell me a lie. Yeah, be honest.
Yeah.
People say that all the time.
If someone isn't genuine with me.
Someone is who?
If someone is not genuine.
Okay. Disingenuous people? Okay. All right. So, what makes you angry?
Sometimes slight, small things.
Small thing?
Blow out.
Yeah, so short people?
Really? I make myself angry sometimes.
I'm so glad you went there because none of that stuff, we cannot be made angry. We can't be made angry. That is a good excuse for bad behavior. Well, he made me angry. No, it didn't. No, he didn't. When we get angry, we do that because we want to get angry. It's our own choice. Anger is a secondary emotion. You get your feelings hurt or something like that, or you're scared, and so we get angry instead. So we're not going there. I just want us to understand that we have these emotions. They are real, but we need to understand where they come from. They don't come from the emotion of anger does not come from any external thing. It's always internal. It's always internal. So, usually the last time you had an issue with anger, it was not a good thing. And so we need to look and say, okay, why did I allow myself to get angry in that situation? I don't have to. So our goal for today is to learn more about how to deal with the upcoming holiday. Thanksgiving's coming. Christmas is going to be here. New Year's is right behind that. One of the biggest ways that people celebrate all three of those is to use some type of drug, use some type of alcohol, do something that's going to nullify us out a little bit, all of that kind of stuff. We still have all of the same stuff out here because this is a really good painting, and somebody has made it even better. One of the things, and I was talking about this with Mr. Farmer this morning, it's an amazing thing to me. I'm driving to work in the mornings and it's still dark out there. People are putting up their Christmas lights. There's Christmas lights all over the place. It's not even Thanksgiving yet. You know, I'm thinking you should wait till Thanksgiving. But so here's the deal. There's a couple of things we want to do over the holidays. Now, look, most of us are still going to be right in here. But how old? A lot of us are very young people. We're going to be subject to other Christmases and other Thanksgivings and other holidays as our lives progress, right? They're not going to say, well, look, that guy there is in recovery, so we need to stop having Thanksgiving and Christmas so that he doesn't get triggered. That's not going to happen, right? So there's a lot of other people out there that's going to enjoy those holidays. So I want to go over this real quickly. And we're going to take a whole bunch of breaks and all of that stuff today. So this is staying sober during the holiday. Are you going to have a problem staying sober during the holidays this year?
I mean,
Yeah, you shouldn't. If you're in here, you really shouldn't have all that many problems. Although we've had people who have relapsed in here, right? But if you're getting out of here before the holidays, is there a possibility that you could have an issue with the being triggered to use when you get out there? Yeah. What did we talk about yesterday? SAD. Anybody remember what that is? SAD. Seasonal. I can't remember the A. Seasonal stuff. So these seasonal things that they happen to us, and we can get sad, and we can get depressed, and we can get anxious just because there's a holiday going on. You know, a lot of people go back into the past with those holidays and everything, and they start remembering people who are no longer there and all of these kinds of things. But what do we do just to stay sober? All of us, 100% of us are going to at one time leave this facility and leave North and go back into our own places, right? Even if our own places are different. Even if we have new places, we're still going to leave here at one time. We don't have the protection of being in here with this great group of people. So we're going to be out there, and there's going to be people out there that their whole purpose in life is to get you back where you were because they love you. And they want you back where you were because that's who they know. They don't know you sober. You're not the same person sober. So they're going to want to get you back to the place where you're supposed to be, which is higher than a kite, like they are. You know, they want to get you back to that place. That's why we tell you to avoid old people. You don't need to be around those old people. What if those old people are our kinfolk? Well, you know, we're grown people, right? No teenagers in here, no children in here or at North. We have to make that choice. I need to either stay sober or stay with those people. So we need to make that choice. So we need to get and I don't think we get serious enough about the fact we say all the time you need to stay away from old people, places, and things. So how many people take that and use that to stay sober? Some do. Yeah, I have. And some people have. And the people who don't, usually, some people make it because there's always an outlier. You know, there's always that person who's going to be able to make it. But most people who don't do away with old people, places, and things don't make it. Don't have a snowball's chance in Phoenix, Arizona. Okay? Ain't going to make it. And right now in Phoenix, Arizona, it's probably 120 degrees. That's the doorway to hell over there. It's terrible. But if we don't stay away from old people, places, and things, those emotional things that are in us are going to be triggered, and we're going to wind up right back where we were. So it's not it might happen to you. The might happen is that you might be able to make it, but more than likely you're not. So we need to make that decision, make that choice, whether or not I'm really super serious about staying in my recovery, or I want to risk my recovery because of my relationship with Bubba or Babette. Or I want to risk my recovery because I like going to Joe's Bar and Tavern. or I want to risk my recovery because I like going to that local fishing hole and doing that thing where I know they all use drugs. So I need to make that choice where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do when I get out of here. And, that's going to make a determination for us whether we're going to be in recovery or we're going to be back here. Right? Is it a hard thing? Is it a terrible thing to come back here? Relapse, the end of recovery?
Yes.
Relapse doesn't have to be the end of recovery, but it's not. Relapse is a part of recovery. Y'all hear that? But it's also not okay. So why is relapse not okay? Yeah, 50% of the people who relapse don't come back. They don't come back out of the relapse. They die in the relapse. Or they get back into their drug of choice and they just get back into that lifestyle and stay in that lifestyle. And that's not a kosher thing. That's not a good thing, right? In this group here, or in the group at North, how many people do you think is going to make it? All of us? That would be good, huh? That would be great. Yeah, that would be great. Statistics tell us that that's not true. That's not true. Statistics tell us that it's not going to be anywhere near that. So the ones of us here that do make it, that's a fantastic thing. But most of the ones who are going to make it, I know I'm belaboring this, but it needs to be belabored. The ones who make it are the ones who's going to follow the suggestions and stuff that we're being given. Don't go back to the old lifestyle. You cannot live a recovery lifestyle and continue in the old lifestyle. Just getting sober don't do it. We have to change our lifestyle, right? So if I'm going to try to stay sober while I'm in the old lifestyle, you ain't going to make it. It's not going to happen. So if I'm going to stay sober, here's what. Staying sober during the holidays. I'm going to go over this real quick. To maintain sobriety, to avoid relapse during the holiday season, I have to be prepared. Here's what I need to know. The holiday season is often associated with indulgence and excess, right? I'm going to eat all of this crazy mess. I'm going to eat 9 pies. I'm going to eat all of this stuff. My wife has decided that we're going to have just a small meal. She and I, nobody else. That's going to be horrible, but we're going to do it, because I like the corn casserole and the turkey and the stuffing and the dressing and the what's that, the giblet gravy, all of that. I love all that stuff, but we're not going to have it this year. We're just going to have that little bit of stuff. So we're not going to be in the indulgence and in the excess at our house. That's going to lead to problems if you have a substance use disorder. Why is that? Just eating a big meal, how can that do that? How can that make me have an issue with substance use? Yeah, you get lazy. Get you back into that motivational place where you have a motivation to be in excess and indulging. And if I'm indulging in all of this other stuff, it may make it easier for me to indulge in drugs or alcohol. You all right?
Yeah.
You've been fidgeting all over the place. You've written a book, and now you're leaving.
Sorry, I have to pee. But...
Yeah, it is, but you go down, do that next time before group or at break. This is group, so get prepared before you come. Yes, sir.
So, you and your wife are having a small meal, or
yeah.
Is your family still coming?
No.
So this is a small meal, which is a change in not being with your family.
Well, it all worked out. It all worked out really for us. I know that everybody's situation is different, but I have 2 sons and a daughter, and my daughter, her husband, my son-in-law, he's got like 9 brothers and sisters. They're all coming to his house for Thanksgiving, right? So that that kind of precludes us going over there because we're going to have a whole house full of people. So we don't want to go over there. We don't like any of those people. So we don't want to go over there and get involved in all of that. My older son, lives up in Normandy and stuff, and he drives a truck for Walmart, and he's going to get home. He has figured out about 9 o'clock that night on Thanksgiving. So there's no real reason for us to drive, 4 hours to be up there to be with them because he's not going to be there. And so we've taken advantage of those, situations to make this a more, a better holiday.
Well, let's see, share.
Say it again.
The holidays started coming up. Or you want to share more about how you guys get together every year.
Yeah.
And for all the years, kids, all these, your family getting together, does it hurt your feelings that it's not happening? Like it's so not normal.
Yeah, it's so not normal, no, but here it doesn't seem to have hurt their feelings a whole lot, but hurt mine, because I like all of that food, and here's the deal. My wife was doing all the cooking and the cleaning and all of that. All I had to do was the eating.
Yeah,
right?
But when it comes to not seeing your kids,
right?
How do you cope with
Oh, well, I don't like them all that much anyway.
that?
I can go see my kids all the time. I would really like, and this is one of the things that we're talking about. See, these is where those emotions come up. Every year, my sons, both of my sons and my daughter and a whole bunch of grandsons and granddaughters and all of that kind of stuff are at my house. We have a pretty large living room so we can all get in there, and at Christmas they bring us our loot, we give them their loot, and then we'll go to the other houses and we'll do some stuff like that. We're changing that tradition, and sometimes when you change a tradition like that, it causes you to have some feelings that are associated with that change. And there's some feelings there. I'm sure they're having some feelings as well, But the feelings, the only ones I know of, completely on my own. I know that I'm having some feelings about it. But my wife said, "Look, I'm just not able to do that." She just went over 71. It takes her hours to do that, and so when she's standing up for hours and hours and hours, cooking all of this big meal and everything like that, then her legs are hurting, her back is hurting, she can't do it anymore. So, it's just something that's a necessity. It's got to be done. So we are shutting it down, and we're changing the tradition. We're not ever going to be doing that anymore. We're going to be having now supper. I do believe that sometime we'll go to my son's house, we'll go to my daughter's house, we'll do some things like that in the future, but for this one, we're not going to do that. But that does elicit some emotion. So those emotions are going to be coming out. Mine are already there. And I do like seeing my grandkids around. Grandkids are wonderful because you can see those little boogers and then send them home.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you that my daughter and my son was, he's 50, almost 52 now. And so when he and his wife, she was way up in her 30s before she had her first baby. And so they spoil the snot out of it. And my daughter she just loves kids, and so she spoils the snot out of those kids. So when they come to my house, we have a bunch of antiques. We have paintings on the wall. And so it's kind of like oh my God, here comes these kids again. But after a while, we get to send them home. But there are feelings involved in that. I'm sure there's feelings. I'm sure the grandkids, I know they want their toys and all of that stuff. So I don't know how that's going. We're going to have our Christmas tree. We'll put all the toys and stuff under it and stuff. They may come by and pick it up. I don't know how we're going to work that. But it's going to be different. So you're right. It causes some of those stuff. But holiday stress might make it difficult for us to remain sober. Do you think changing our tradition completely has caused any stress in our life?
But
Yeah. It's caused some stress in my life. I'm thinking, I'm not going to get corn casserole. I'm not going to get dressing. I like turkey, but the dressing and the corn casserole, and my wife did say she's going to make us a keto pie. Right? What kind of pie is that? That's one a diabetic can eat. There's no sugar in it. She even makes the crust out of something that's not bread. It's something that's not crust. It's something different. So I can eat that mess, and So that's gonna be okay. She's gonna make us a pie, but usually we've got 4 pies. They all come from Sam's, and Sam's makes these huge, big old pies, and they are fabulous. They're the best pies in the whole wide world, and so none of that's happening. But so that's caused some stress in my life. Oh, your pies are better, I know. I understand your pies are better.
Chocolate chip pecan pies.
Yeah, yeah. I love pecan pies. Look, the guy behind you, you see, there's something wrong with him because he don't like pecan pie. I heard a thing on the radio that said some lady didn't like pecan pie because of the consistency. Oh man, I love it. You take a bite and you can crunch it a little bit and then it melts in your mouth and the sugar gets into your system and you yeah, happy. But so it is causing some stress in my life. I'm thinking really, like last year, my wife was already so tired she couldn't do anything, and she was stressed completely out trying to make sure everybody had what they had. She made a special pie for my son. She made a special pie for somebody else, and she's doing all of this stuff, and she was eaten up with stress. Her stress level went way up here. Mine was okay. I don't have any stress. I'm sitting around watching a movie, waiting for the groceries to be cooked. And then everything is fine. This year I'm having a little bit of stress because none of that stuff is happening. Things are changing, but I can see in her that the stress level is going down. She doesn't have to do all that stuff. My sister-in-law actually invited us to go to a restaurant with them. They go, and it's one where you can eat all you want and all of that kind of stuff. But she came back last year and said it was not good. And so don't invite me to a restaurant and then tell me it wasn't good.
I gotta just get the kids to cook.
Get the kids to cook. And that's been an option that we've talked about, and probably going forward, that'll be what's happening. But like I said, at my daughter's house, they're going to have all of that company there, so that kind of nixed that. And then my son's not going to even be there, so that kind of nixed that. And so, this year it turned out for her the less. And here, like on Thanksgiving, at this point, I just started to work here full time on the 27th of last month. And so at this point, I don't have any time off. And it hadn't popped up yet. And so tomorrow's supposed to be payday, so we don't even know if we're going to get paid. So okay, I may be volunteering and don't know it. So if I
affecting your guys' paycheck?
Say it again.
Is the shutdown affecting your guys'
No, not that I know of. But if we go to Normandy, it's a 4-hour drive up there and a 4-hour drive back. And probably not. With the traffic and stuff on Thanksgiving, it would be at least that. And so, I'm trying, if I get Thanksgiving off, the day after Thanksgiving, I got to be here. So we've got to drive up and drive back, So there's a lot of variables there, but all of that, it feeds into the stress, feeds into the emotional turmoil that can happen.
You could save money.
Say it again?
You could save some money, not.
Oh, well, this is true too, yeah, because it costs a lot. But we're going to be buying a lot of turkeys anyway. We give them away at church. And so we're going to give out at least 3 of those this year. So it makes it, that stress that we have can make it a little bit harder for us to remain sober. If you're at a situation, and I've been in a situation where I didn't have money to buy people gifts. We talked about that a little bit. Is that stressful? Yeah, and I think it's reprehensible that we have brought the celebration of the birth of our Savior down to that place where we give each other gifts. And 90, I won't say 90%, but most of the gifts we buy our grandchildren they tear them up before they go home. One of the things, and I'll tell y'all this is a great idea for kids who are probably 7, 8, 9, something like that. Buy them flashlights. They're cheap, and they will play with those things, man. My granddaughter, she played with her stupid little flashlight all the time that they were there. We got them other stuff, and their dad makes tons of money, and so they had all kinds of stuff. But that little flashlight, she thought that was the greatest thing in the world. And when they left from our house, both of them took their flashlights with them, and they're shooting each other with the flashlights and junk like that, and took them home, and they were still working. Yeah. But the little car, the wheel fell off, all of that kind of stuff before you leave. So, it's not a good idea that all of that's there, but it still brings you some stress. So probably this Saturday, I have every other Saturday I'm working at the church, but this is one of my off Saturdays, and so we're probably going to start buying junk for Christmas. Yeah, I don't know. My wife doesn't like it, and it causes her a little bit of stress, but I really like to go shopping for Christmas and stuff like that at the dollar store. And the only reason, look, I see the looks, but the only reason I shop at the dollar store for my family is because the 99-cent store closed.
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree, yeah. Oh yeah, look, and I keep telling them, I put on their little card, "Merry Christmas, sweetie." It's the thought that counts. Yeah, you may have a rock and a stick in here, but it's the thought. Your grandpa will think about you. But so far, and I actually bought one of my sons a lump of coal one year. That was good. So in addition to having family tensions, look, there's always family tension. There's always family tension. Some people have a lot of tension in their family. Some people don't have a lot of tension, but there's always some type of tension in there. So there's unfulfilled expectations. Unfulfilled expectations, overscheduling, just too much to do, just too many things to do, possible financial strain. I was talking to some people who had put themselves in debt like $20,000 for Christmas. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend a few bucks on the people that that I love. I'm going to spend the most. I spend most of the time when I go out and buy gifts. I buy gifts for my wife because I don't spend any money. I have the poor man mentality. I grew up with nothing, and so I don't spend a whole lot of money. But when it comes to her, I'll spend it all. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to buy her something. Usually, what happens, she buys everybody else something. So, but it does. It can cause a financial strain, especially if you're not working, you don't have a lot of money. It causes a financial strain, unrealistic expectations, or somewhere that children live. Dad's out of work, mom's out of work, the government shut down, so we're not getting any welfare checks, and we're not getting any food stamps, we're not getting any of that stuff, but the kid still wants a pony. Right? So these kids suffer from unrealistic expectations. They don't care that you don't have any money. It's supposed to be a magical thing. Sanity Claus. And better said, insanity Claus. He's going to come bring all of this stuff, so all you got to do is tell him you want that and it's coming. That's not true, is it? No. Y'all do know that Santa Claus ain't real, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, no, I knew he's still fake.
I'm Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus.
You do, yeah, you're Santa Claus. So you might miss some support group meetings. Anybody here been to support group meeting on Christmas?
Oh, yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
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 Oh, yeah. And look, at the 24 group on Thanksgiving and Christmas, at the 24 group, that's in Austin, they barbecue. Have a big old barbecue and feed all of the homeless people around the neighborhood and all of that stuff and just have a great time. Of course, the 24 group does that on a weekly basis. They're feeding people. Got a big old group. So it's great. Your sponsor sometimes might be just kind of out of touch. What does that tell you? Well, if my sponsor's out of touch, what do I need to do? No, don't get a new sponsor, but have some other people. We're supposed to have a bunch of sober support people, right? What's a sober support person? Yeah, those are all, yeah. But we also are supposed to have people who are not our sponsors, but are just sober people that we can call and talk to in case my sponsor is not available. Your sponsor, you don't own him. You don't own her. Your sponsor, you can't just, you can't say, well, you have to be available to me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. That's not how that works. This is a voluntary thing with their giving back with what helps them get their recovery. And someday, when you've got about 3 years of recovery, 4 years of recovery, you need to step into that role, right? You're not going to want to sell your life to whoever that person is. I do know people that are sponsoring 6 to 8 people. You think they can do that effectively? No. But a lot of times it's hard to find a sponsor, so somebody that's willing, okay, and get another one and another one. So the very first thing that you should ask is, how many people are you sponsoring? Well, I'm not sponsoring anybody. Okay. I've got one other. Okay. But if they've got 6 people, yes.
How many do you think would be
One.
sufficient?
I think one would be the best thing if you could do that, because you have to be invested in that person's life if you're going to be their sponsor.
That well-being.
Yeah, you're invested into their well-being, invested into their recovery efforts. You're way invested in that person. So if you got 4 or 5 people, you can't do that very well. I do know that some people are more apt at it than I am, so they can do 2 people, they can do 3 people. I can't. I pastor a church, and I don't do that well because I'm over here instead of over there. And so, I'm not doing that as well as I should. So if I got 3 or 4 sponsees, that makes it kind of hard. So we need to do those things. So what can you do to maintain your sobriety and avoid relapse? What do you think you can do? What's one thing you can do to guard your sobriety and avoid relapse?
Stay
Stay away from drugs and alcohol. Yeah. What if your family wants you to come over for Thanksgiving, and there's going to be drinking and drugging there? Boy, that's the best thing in the world, and that's good advice. Mr. Adams said, "Don't go." It just makes perfect sense. You don't go there. I have so many people tell me, well, that's my dear old sainted mom. You can't tell me not to go to. I'm not telling anybody not to go. I'm going to tell you, if you do go, you're going to go right back. You'll be back in here in 6 months. Is that guaranteed? Well, no. There's always outliers. You may go over there, sit around with all of those drunks and druggies, and you may eat some turkey and come back home and everything's fine. But that's a real big chance that you take. Right? Because everybody there, they're going to love you, and they're going to tell you how much they love you, and then they're going to tell you, I know you're in recovery. And I really wish that it was okay. It's not. It's not okay to put your hands on anybody. Can't do that. I really wish it was. I really wish the Bible would say, punch them in the head. But it don't. It doesn't say that. It says when they hit you, turn the other cheek. Just turn the other cheek. I know, I see back there. I don't care what God says. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care what. But here's the thing. If we know that we're going to go in there and there's going to be those issues and things, we have to be willing to say what? What's that one word? No. When your mama calls and says, hey, Bubba, we know you're in recovery, but, we really want you to come. I know, look, your Uncle John, he's going to be here. He's going to be drunk. Uncle John. He's going to be drunk. Then you say, well, no, Mama, I can't be around that stuff. If you do go around that stuff, Uncle John's going to say, hey, hi. I know you're in recovery. I know you're, and I'm so proud of you. But I just feel like I need to offer you a drink. It's Christmas, man. It's Thanksgiving, dude. Everybody takes a little drink. Oh, Thanksgiving. No, we don't. No, we don't. You know, they'll tell you that stuff. I know you're in recovery, and I would never drink in front of you, but I'm about to have a drink, and I'm not going to do it in front of you. I'm going to go out here in the back, and I'm going to drink in the backyard. But you know, if you come out, if you want something, you know, you just come out. Because they, you know, they tell you, they profess that they love you, but what they're doing seems like, feels like they hate you. You finally got away from the demon. You finally got away from the junk. And they're saying, here, let me help you with that. Let me help you with your recovery. Let me help you get past all, you know. So be careful. There are a few things that we can do to help us stay in our recovery, not in sobriety, but in our recovery, because look, we're not just getting sober, we're changing our lives. We're changing our lives. If we're not willing to change our lives, well then, okay, that's why we don't hang out with old people, places, and things, because we've changed our life. Right? So if my life has changed, my lifestyle has changed, then I don't need to be around those people. Here's the deal. I cannot change my life and not change my lifestyle. If I don't change my lifestyle, my life won't change. Right? So, here's the first thing. This is going to keep us out of that. We're going to look at about 11 different things real quickly, and the first thing is to plan. Just have a plan. Know what you're going to do. How many people really enjoy serendipity? I do. Just doing something off the cuff. Just boom, let's go do that. Okay, I like doing that sometimes. You know, I'm sitting around the house and my wife says, hey, I'm going to Sam. Well, let's go do that. That's fun. Especially when we were retired. You know, I retired from the state and went and worked a few other places and retired from there. I'm sitting at the house. You know, having a good time sitting at the house. And so my wife said, let's go to the beach, all right? You know, we can do that. It's fun. Say it again.
The other word for that, spontaneous.
Spontaneous, yeah. Just doing something in spontaneity, which is actually the word I was looking for. Just being spontaneous and doing some stuff. You know, that's wonderful. But we don't need to do that if we're fighting for our recovery. Right? So, here's the thing. We need to plan. Holiday celebrations often involve alcohol. People will likely offer you a drink, and they might not understand why you prefer to be sober. Prepare yourself for uncomfortable situations and triggering environments. Sometimes I don't need to go to my family's Thanksgiving celebration. Sometimes I don't need to do that. So here's the deal. These are some things that we can do that will help us in that. Go to a meeting, that means AANA or Celebrate Recovery, before the party. If you're going to go to the party, go to a meeting before the party. Inviting a sober friend, somebody who doesn't have an issue, to attend with you and to watch you. You know, let them know that, hey, I'm giving you my permission to poke me on the side and say, you need to leave now. You know, let them go with you. Meeting with your sponsor, talking on the phone with a sober friend before you get into that situation, letting them know that you're going to be there and that you might need some help. So, driving your own vehicle to holiday events. Don't ever ride with somebody else to a situation where you think there may be alcohol or drugs. Say it again. You can't leave. Right, you can't leave. I had a client that went to his brother's wedding, and at the brother's wedding, there's all kind of booze and stuff. They had an open bar and all of this kind of stuff, and he couldn't get out of there. He had nowhere to go. They wanted to take pictures, and so he's standing up with his brother and all of that kind of stuff, take pictures, and everybody had a flute. A wine flute with champagne in it. And so the photographer made him hold one. And he's standing out there. He said, it's hot out there. They did it outside. The bar was in a barn right there. The wedding was outside. And he said it was really hot. He said, I didn't see any water anywhere. Okay. All right. So what happened?
Took a drink.
He had to drink that wine, that champagne. Once he did that, well, there was an open. He was still thirsty, and everybody knows alcoholics are the thirstiest people on the face of the earth. So drive your own vehicle so you can leave early. Leave when there's something going on. Limit your time around these stressful situations and difficult people. Avoid. Now, I don't say limit them. Just get away from them. Stay away from old people, places, and things. Start a new life. Start recovery. Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say stay away from old people?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You need to
Yeah, see, stay away from old people because old people know how to hurt you. Old people gonna do you damage. So now, y'all know what I'm talking about. Look, now, Mr. Gold, he probably don't, but most of us know that old people mean the people you used to drink and use with, right? So I'll go back around the old friends and all those people. We're not talking about aged people. One in every group. So look, practicing what you will say to refuse alcohol or other drugs. What are you going to say? You know what you're going to say. I know what I'm going to say. Oh yeah, I know what I'm going to say. And I've had people offer me stuff. My son-in-law doesn't drink at all. He's got a whole family full of drug addicts and all of those stuff that he doesn't associate with. And this year, that's the group of people that are coming to his house. His wife, my daughter, she just feels like he needs to be with his family. Okay. So they're coming to his house. There's no alcohol or anything allowed at his house. So they're coming there. So, but I've met a couple of those guys, and we work on some cars and stuff together, and they'll come, and every one of them got a can of beer in their hand. And I've had these guys coming up to me when we're out there trying to work on the car, and they say the same thing every time. I know you're a preacher, and I know you don't drink or nothing, but I just felt like I need to offer you a drink anyway. Yeah. So I asked the guy, well, why on earth would you want to do that? Why do you think you need to offer me a drink? You're trying to get me back out of my sobriety? You're trying to get me back out of my recovery? What are you trying to do to me? I don't mean nothing by it. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. You're trying to destroy me. Before you know it, that guy's over at the other side looking at me like this. That dude's crazy. Yes, sir.
I got one question.
Okay, well, this is the third one, so that's just not true.
Mr. Miller.
Okay.
Back on vacation. And y'all got together, start picking on that one porch yet?
I don't know what he said. What did you say?
Oh, I said y'all started working on that lady's porch yet. The old ladies y'all go get when you got on vacation. Y'all started working on it?
No. No, I spoke to her, though. When was that? Last Sunday. Because we're deciding now we're going to have to re-roof her house. And so we're trying to decide now whether I have the tin already that we can tin the roof, but we're trying to decide whether we're going to do that. There's another person in our church that happens to have a bunch of free shingles, so we're going to do it one way or another.
I thought y'all working on the porch too, right?
Yeah, we're going to work on that porch too. We ain't got it yet. So look, just be ready to be able to say something to somebody. Secondly, the last thing is have an excuse to leave early. People start using it. Now, we don't do it anymore because it just got out of hand, but we used to go to my sister-in-law's house every Christmas afternoon, probably 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. We go there, and they don't drink a whole bunch, and they have a lot, she just have some goodies and stuff like that. And we would go over there and get our loot, and we'd give her loot. And then, but at about 8 o'clock or so, the grandsons would start coming in. And they'd come in with a beer, and they're drinking and stuff like that. So about that time, we leave. Now, see, I didn't have to have a real good excuse because I love those guys. They're sweet people. I love them. They're not usually drunk or anything like that. But when they come in and they got a little bit of a slurred speech or something like that, Miss Linda and I get up and we're headed out the door. And they say, all right, boss, we'll see you later, and they know I'm in. Because you guys are drinking and I'm not drinking, and that bothers me, so I'm gone. So, I'm not going to sit in a situation where I might get triggered at all. I'm not going to put myself there. So, the next thing is, look, examine your own expectation. What are you expecting from that situation?
To not drink.
Yeah, I'm expecting not to drink, but we need to examine the expectations that I have, examine expectations that the people I'm going to visit with have, and all of that stuff. Speak with your sponsor, speak with a loved one about the emotions, expectations that you have about the holidays, and then especially if you feel resentful or replay negative memories in your head, if difficult feelings are left unchallenged, then the stage is set for relapse. If I'm angry at you, but I'm going over to your house, if you hurt my feelings, but I'm going over to your house, those things could boil up and cause me to get to a place where emotions are there that I don't want to deal with. Yes.
And then because it was, but I thought it was going by setting your boundaries, got your boundaries. So you just,
well, that's true too. You have to have these. You have to have these boundaries. I have my boundaries.
I mean, when you said about expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing, and we're going to take a early break after we talk about this one. We'll be back at 15 minutes after. One of the best things we can do is be of service. Just make sure that during this thing, I'm going to be of service. Serve a meal at a homeless shelter. There's lots of places around here where people are having their Thanksgiving meal at a homeless shelter. So you can go over there and be of service there. Volunteer at an animal shelter and do that. Spend time with a homebound elderly neighbor. They're out there. There are many ways to give back, pay it forward, and be of service. So we can be doing that. Even if we're going to our family's home to go ahead and do our stuff there, we can be of service there. Let me bring the turkey. Yes.
I like I'm saying, you go to church on a regular, you got your sick and seven, go visit them.
Yeah, sure. Go to the hospital and all of that. I was in the hospital one holiday, 30 years ago, and some ladies from First Baptist Church came up on that holiday to visit with me. They gave me some frilly little nightgown and some little frilly little booties and what's that called? What? A robe. Gave me a robe that had all these little flowers and stuff on it. And the girl was really apologetic. She gave me all that stuff. I'm looking at this stuff, and I said, She said, we're really sorry, but we saw your first name, and we thought that was a girl's name. So my first name is Herschel, and they thought that was, and so they brought me all the girl stuff. And I've never heard a girl named Herschel. I got 5 Herschels in my family. All of them are guys. So anyway, I gave all that stuff to my wife. Say it again.
What country town was you in?
What country was I in?
Country town.
What town? That was Houston, I think.
Who?
Which Houston?
I ain't never heard of it.
I've never heard of. I never have. I've never heard of a girl named Herschel, but they thought, So anyway, that's a good old Jewish name. I'm not Jewish, but that's a good old Jewish name. So and it's a guy's name. So there are ways that we can give back. There's ways that we can give back in the situation that we're going into. We can bring something. Years ago, probably 30 years ago, my daughter-in-law got with us and said, "Hey, I want to cook Thanksgiving dinner for you." And my wife said, "Well, that's a fantastic thing." She said, "But we're not having turkey. We're going to have fish." She cooked this big old fish about that long, and it was edible. I ate some of it, but my wife said, "I'll bring a little something." Guess what my wife brought?
Turkey.
A turkey. She brought she baked a whole turkey with all the trimmings. She brought that up there too, and praise God that she did, because turkey is it's Thanksgiving. You eat turkey. I have a friend that eats squaw on Thanksgiving. It's not a law, It's just something I enjoy doing. All right, so we're going to take a break. We'll be back about 15 minutes after.
Everybody ever had a church that I gotta have a church that
Hey.
not leaving yet.
All right, Nick.
I'm trying to be okay.
Sometimes it takes work.
Yes, it does. No, they keep someone there. What's going on there? Happy Holy out here. I need a lot of cars. It's working. For the other side, I don't know.
Mr. Washington, I need my tax wrong. So, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Look, she smooths like nails. Look, yeah. Awesome. I get a couple of turkey strips. Sir.
Supposed to ask the RA if the lights that in the hallway prices. Yes, we are. Sure. Back my Woo! That was a big deal. Nice little break.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you like it.
Sure. I'm gonna have to get a copy of that.
And then the back section of it, like he talks about his own drugs. He's like, let me break it down. Okay.
Please.
Yeah.
Eliminate.
Got a lot of stuff about it. That's about like
Anybody else kids
All right, gentlemen, we're back.
I was reading that first.
Yeah.
Got North. Are ready? And so we're going to get started. We're going to get through here. As soon as we get through here, I have a meeting right after this, so y'all know how that works. Probably a few minutes early, maybe 5 minutes early or something like that. So we talked about being of service, making something, using our holiday time, our time off, our time away, to be of service to somebody else. That's always helpful. Then one of the things that's helpful, if you're going to go to the family or you're going to go to friends and all of that, you know there may be something there. Keep a drink in your hand.
Oh, keep
Yeah.
it drinking.
Keep a drink in your hand. It's less likely for somebody to offer you an alcoholic drink if you've got a Coca-Cola, styrofoam cup with just Coke in it or water in it or coffee in it or something like that, because they see that you already have a drink. So keep a drink in hand. Family gatherings, social events, hold on to your favorite non-alcoholic drink so people will be less inclined to offer you an alcoholic beverage. Most of them may even think, hey, you've already got an alcoholic. Well, that's okay. It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you do, right? So be mindful when you ask someone to get you a drink, because they may misunderstand or forget that you're sober. If you accidentally take a sip, that doesn't mean you've relapsed. But here's the deal. What should you do?
leave?
Well, you should leave, don't drink. But here's the thing, too. If I'm in a situation where there's alcohol or something, I'm not going to ask somebody else to make me a drink. Because what does that mean when you say, well, go make me a drink? What does that mean to you?
They're going to get you an alcoholic beverage.
Yeah, that's what it means. I mean, it doesn't mean go get me a virgin drink. That doesn't mean go get me a Coke. That doesn't mean get me a glass of water. That means get me a Bloody Mary or get me a rum and Coke or a screwdriver or something like that. That's what it means. Yeah, So don't ask somebody else to go get you a drink when you have one of these things, because that's exact. Yeah, it said, and if you accidentally take a sip of it, okay, now that could possibly happen. I was at a TAP meeting. Y'all know what a TAP meeting is? TAAP, Texas Association of Addiction Professionals. So I was at the TAP meeting, and they have a big old meal for you. The last day of the TAP meeting, it's huge, it's nice, big old nice meal. There's probably 300 or 400 people there, and they had a dessert that was called a rum cake, and supposed to be no. I mean, this is the Association of Addiction Professionals. All right, 93% of us there were in recovery. And so I pick up this thing, or I cut a piece off of it, take a bite of it. You can taste the rum. You can taste it. And there's about 10 people on my table. And I pushed that back and I said, look, if you're in recovery, don't eat this crap. It actually has rum in it. And so, the little waitress came over and said, sir, you don't like the dessert. I said, not the dessert, it's the booze that you have in the dessert that's problematic for me. She went and told the director of the tap thing, and he got up and he said, everybody relax. Y'all just go ahead, eat your cake, eat your dessert. It has been, the rum was put in there, but it has been cooked over and over. That thing, all of the rum's been cooked out of it. First, I doubt that's true because I could taste it. And even if it's cooked out, the taste of it is a trigger. So, this guy, and I spoke with him, you're an idiot. I didn't tell him that, but he knew it when I got finished. You got all of these people in recovery, and you're going to put something out there that even reminds us of this junk? Yes.
What proof is wrong? That's a hell of a.
I don't have any idea what proof is. What is it? 90%. It's strong stuff. So if it's 90 proof, then how much alcohol is in it?
90%?
Yeah, 45%. Yeah, double whatever the number is. Half of that number is how much alcohol is in that particular that alcoholic beverage. So, yeah, that 90% is a whole lot of it. Why don't we have 100% alcohol?
Evaporate out.
Yeah, if you go, alcohol is the nature of alcohol is if it goes to 100%, it will explode. So you can't have 100%. They have 95% and stuff like that.
You ever had Everclear?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 200%.
You know what Everclear would do? It don't get you Everclear. It says on there that it's like 180 proof, but if it's 180 proof, how much alcohol is that?
90.
It's about 90 proof. Yeah, about 90%. We'll go to 100. Alcohol will not exist at 100% in nature. Yes.
All I know is they say you can put your car in the car. Back in the days.
Well, I don't know if they will now today, but my cousin stole a car from the dealership he was working in, and he had like he was drunk. He had like 6 fifths of whiskey in the back of his car, and he gave out of gas. So he poured all that whiskey in the tank, ran like a top. Yeah, whiskey got enough alcohol in it, and your car will run off of alcohol. So it's got enough alcohol. That's what that's what we're putting in our bodies, stuff that'll run a car. So look, the next thing is just to avoid relapse triggers and traps. We talk a lot about relapse triggers, old people, places, and things. What is that? That's going to be on some of your treatment plans. What's the old people, places, and things? What is that?
Universal triggers.
Universal triggers. What does that mean?
Worldwide. Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. This is universal. These triggers are universal for everybody. You say, well, that don't trigger. Yes, it does. You get triggered by that. So old people, places, and things are going to trigger them. We talk about that all the time, but we don't usually talk about the traps. So there's triggers, and then there's traps. So what's the trap?
I guess going to the cruise party, huh?
Just like
Going to Thanksgiving.
Well, just like Mr. Adams was talking about earlier, going somewhere in somebody else's vehicle. Don't take, you have to have your own bicycle so you can get away from there. So that's a trap. You set yourself up for failure. It's a trap. So we got to watch those things. Now also, look, they can be called warning signs. We need to know what our warning signs are. One of my warning signs is really desiring to be with certain people. I would love to spend the afternoon with Charlie Webb. I would love to do that. Charlie is my probably best friend in the world. It was when we were growing up in school. we went through school together. We got into all kind of trouble together. We both wound up in a country school with a bunch of hayseeds out in the country, and we were greasers back in the day. Y'all know what a greaser is?
Where your hair slick back.
Hair all slicked back, had a black jacket, wore blue jeans and a black jacket, and rode a little motorcycle. I had a 90 Honda. Biggest motorcycle he ever had was a Cushman, one of them big old Cushman scooters. But man, we were okay. All the girls thought we were, but all the boys wanted to beat us up. So we'd stand back to back, and we just had a fun time, But I don't hang out with him anymore. Why? He's still over there. He's still using. He's still. Yeah, hell he is. And he's still trying to get himself out of the lifestyle. He's not quite there yet. Guess what he does? He's a private detective in Meridian, Mississippi. A private eye. And one of the things he told me about that, I said, man, that sounds like that would be fun. He said, no, the police hate him. They stop him more than they stop anybody else because he gets in their way and he does stuff, that. Anyway, there's some traps. No certain people will ask you inappropriate questions. There's certain people, they think they're doing the right thing. They think it's the holiday, and they think that they would be not doing the right thing if they didn't offer you a drink. You need to stay away from those ignorant people. Okay? They're not good for you. They're not good. Here's the thing. Now, some people may disagree with me, but if you disagree with me, that means you're in a codependent relationship, and we need to talk. All right? So there is not a person on the face of the earth that you cannot live without. And if you can put in your mind, oh, yes, there is this person. No, see? And y'all know that I've been married to my bride for 52 years. March the 24th will be 53 years, okay? And we're going to go look at dolphins on that 53rd anniversary. But if my wife decides to run off with the mailman, guess what?
You gonna keep living?
I'm gonna keep living. Yeah, I'm gonna be all right.
He don't know how to fix the mail.
Well, my wife likes the mailman, so it's so if she one day now if she passes away before me or something like that, I'm not going to go and lay down in the graveyard, because I'm going to still be alive. It's the same thing with me. If you guys kill me or something, she's going to be able to, because we're not codependent on one another, So we need to know that all of these people out there that want us to come to their house on Thanksgiving or Christmas and all of this, those inappropriate people who will ask inappropriate questions, we need to stay away from them. We got cousins who don't care if you're going to be, going to be sober or not. Can't understand you being sober. Look, how do you celebrate Thanksgiving and don't drink something? We're watching the football game, man. How can you watch a football game without having a couple of nice kegs of beer, man? Come on. How can you, what? So they don't understand that because it's not about their life usually, but it is about mine. So I need to be a little bit. They're going to ask you inappropriate questions like, why aren't you drinking? Why won't you drink? What do you think you feel? You think you're better than us now that you got sober? Yeah. Yeah. I'm better than you. I'm better now the way that I am than the way that you are right now in your addiction. Yeah. I'm a better person. I'm a better person for having gotten sober. Oh, well, I can do that. Yeah. I mean, hey, yeah, and one of the things about fighting your brothers and sisters and your cousins and stuff like that, they usually won't kill you. They'll beat you down, but they'll, leave you at least, conscious or something. I've had those fights. Because I told y'all, my big brother is a lot bigger than me. He actually is one. So they're going to ask you inappropriate questions, or they're going to pressure you to use drugs or to drink. Look, here's one of the things that's a truism that is really sad. People who are in the midst of alcoholism or in the midst of using drugs, they want you to use as well. It's easier. It makes more sense for me to do a stupid thing if somebody else is doing a stupid thing with me. That's why people go get other people to do stupid stuff, because it's easier for me to do a stupid thing if I have help in the stupidity. Right? I had a guy, I was saying something like that one time, and the guy told me, you know, I'm offended. I said, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend. He said, yeah, you called me stupid. I'm not calling anybody stupid. The things we do sometimes are stupid. I know brilliant people. I bet some of the smartest people, some of the greatest, most committed Christians I've ever met in my life in prison. In prison. And they've done a lot. You know, there's some really smart people out there and all of this kind of stuff, you know. But we do some stupid stuff. And when you break into somebody else's house, car, that's pretty stupid. When we go outside here right after, you know, we have the little break and we go out there and we light up a cigarette, it ain't the smartest thing we've ever done. That's not the smartest thing. So, they're going to ask you to do that. Now, what do we do with those people?
Stay away from them.
We avoid them. Yeah, we stay away from those people. Stay away from old people, places, and things. If you know an event will be especially difficult, but you have to go, then make a real brief appearance and avoid attending, or avoid attending it altogether. If you can't avoid attending altogether, that's what I do. And I will tell you this, over a period of time, people quit asking you. And people quit becoming offended that you don't come at some point. And this speaks to the whole issue. After a point, they don't care if you come or not. You know, they don't care. So, you know, it may take a year, it may take 2 years, but at some point they're gonna quit fooling with you. Yes.
That's the way I be, like, in the word, like, I call it fake love, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you got families where y'all really don't kick it that much.
Right.
And like when they come to holidays, I'll come on over there, like they so in love with you and all that. That's why I make my brief appearance. I mean, you know, they talk about it. I said, well, can I tell you what? I pull up about 5 or 10 minutes, and I'm gone.
Yeah, and that's it.
I'm gone. Really don't even make it in the house. And deuces, I'm gone.
And that's a good way to do that. You know, I told you that my brother and I are, you know, we don't. But when I went through Mississippi, I met with him in Walmart's parking lot for 20 minutes. Okay. You know, I would have preferred we went and sat somewhere and had a meal and all of this kind of stuff, but he's not comfortable with doing that yet. Never moved. Yeah, he could have been killing you, but yeah. That's sweet. So anyway, if you just make a brief appearance or avoid attending altogether, saying yes. This is important. Saying yes when you should say no can leave you feeling resentful. I now have to do it because I said yes, I'll come. And look, here's the deal. If I tell you yes, I'm going to do my level best to come do it because I'm in recovery from lying. So I'm going to do it, but I do have to understand too that I am a people pleaser, so I'm working at not being a people pleaser. So if I come and talk to you sometimes and I tell you no straight up or something like that, it's not you, it's me trying to become less of a people pleaser. I don't want to be a people pleaser. You know, I don't want to do that. I want to please God. And then I'll please you because the Bible tells me to seek Him first and then you second, and then I'm a distant third down here. So, we all need to practice saying no. You know, when my boss comes and sometimes she'll tell me to do something, I don't have any other choice but say yes. But most of the time, she's a sweet young lady, and she'll come and ask me to do something. I find it real hard to say no to her. You know, if she needs me to do something, I'm going to do it. You know, if I can. But I have here lately been saying, well, I don't think I'll do it. You know, so it's good to practice. We need to be able to do that. Saying no is perfectly acceptable, especially if it will protect you. Now, I don't have to go to my grandma's house. I don't have to go to mama's house. I don't have to go to other people's houses. I don't have to do that. And now, mama's dead, grandma's dead, all of that kind of stuff. So they're not asking me to come a whole lot. But, my kids, I don't have to go by there. Now, I do know, and somebody asked this earlier, but I do know that with all of those people over there, if I want to, after Miss Linda and I have had our snack at home and everything, if we want to go by there, we can. We can run by there and just go in and say hey to the grandkids and all of that kind of stuff. And then on Christmas, we've got to deliver, or either they're going to come by. So we're all going to have that interaction. It's just not going to be as intense as normal. And if we cannot have a safe interaction with my addiction, with my kids up at my son's house, none of that happened. My daughter's house, none of that happened. So those are safe interactions. I've been sober now, and I've been in a situation where people are using around me, and it didn't trigger me all that, all that much, where I'm fiending or anything like that, because I've been sober for 5 minutes. But if I hadn't been, it would have been, and so I don't stay in the situation anyway. And I let the people know. You know that I'm in recovery, and you shouldn't do this. And if there's other people in the family in recovery, and you shouldn't drink in front of them. You shouldn't get that around them. Do stuff like that. So I let them know that. So we need to be practicing self-care. What's self-care?
Take care of your health, your mind, spirit.
Yeah, taking care of me.
Causing.
Yeah, taking care of me. So care for your body, just like you said, care for your body, your mind, and your soul. Self-care, taking care of me. Proper nutrition. And why are we talking about this? If we're in good shape, if we're, I go over to the gym all the time, and then I work my stomach all the time, whether I'm over there or not. That's easily done. But if you're in good shape, you can deal with these things a whole lot better. If something pops up at you, there's always an outlier. There's also always something that comes up during the holidays. And if something comes up that hits you, if you're in good physical, mental, spiritual shape, then you're going to be able to deal with that a whole lot better than if you're not. If you're out of shape, then this stuff's going to get you a lot quicker. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating well, one of the things, most of you guys are a whole lot younger than me, but one of the things that gets us a lot is as we grow older, our sense of thirst lessens. We don't know. Once you get about 60, your sense of thirst starts going down. You don't realize you're thirsty as easily. What does that tell you? We can get dehydrated very quickly because I don't know I'm thirsty. I don't know I need water. So, you've got to, drink 3 bottles of water a day, whether you're thirsty or not. That'll keep you from getting dehydrated. And so that's an interesting thing. So we need to take care of ourselves. Healthy physical movement. Get up, move around, do something. Get up, move around, do something. A sedate lifestyle. Here as a counselor, sitting at desk all the time. I'm typing a whole lot. So, we need to get up, move around, do all of those stuff. I think it's a really good idea that Miss Charnel goes and does those mindfulness walks. That's a good thing. That not only gets her out behind her desk, it gets you up behind your table and gets you out walking. That's a good thing. If you know an event will be especially, we got to get up, do some healthy movement, restorative sleep. These things do wonders to our well-being. How much sleep do you need? We talked about it yesterday a little bit. 7 to 9 hours. 7 to 9 hours is usually enough. I don't understand how President Trump does what he does. He's crazy, but he does a lot of stuff, and he gets about 3.5, 4 hours of sleep a night. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't know how you do it. I can do that. Better you feel emotionally, the better you feel physically, the stronger you're going to be. The more able you're going to be able to say no. I don't need that. One of the things I can, if I'm feeling good and I'm physically capable and all of that stuff, and somebody comes up that wants me to use the same drug they're using, whether it's alcohol or some other drug, and you look at them and you say, well, physically, mentally, spiritually, look at that person. They're in really bad shape on all three levels, and look at me. I'm in pretty good shape. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm getting enough sleep. I'm eating right. I'm doing the right things, and I'm in touch with my higher power. And so I don't need to give up all of this stuff that I've worked so hard for to go back to that place in the gutter where they are. So, saying the stronger you will. Find some quiet time each day for relaxation and meditation. Let me tell you this. Group time is not time for relaxation and meditation, Mr. Rice. It's not. It's not. But there should be a time for you to sit down. You don't have to go sit down for 2 hours. That's probably not a good thing. But going and sitting down somewhere for 10 minutes is a good thing. And, just meditating, thinking about your day, thinking about the things that you managed to get beyond and all of that stuff. Here's the deal. The next thing that we need to look at is increased support. How much support do we need to stay in our recovery? How much do we need? As much as we can get. Here's the deal. We always say this, but we are not in this thing. We don't need to be in this thing alone. This is something that's a team effort. We need to have help from our family, from our friends, from a sponsor, from our AA group, from whatever we're doing. We need to have other people involved in it. So increase that. Surround yourself with supportive loved ones. Sometimes our loved ones are a lot of help in our recovery. Sometimes they're not. Now, my loved ones were a lot of help in my recovery. My wife was a great, super duper help. Now, some of the other people that, I'm kin to, and let me tell you, this is something that's a little bit foreign to a lot of people. Just because we're blood kin don't mean I have to love you. I got blood kin people, I wouldn't go around them for anything. Most people do. Uncle Bubba, most people do. But there are people in our families that can be supportive, and those people that are supportive, we need to support, and we need to work on that relationship and get that relationship going. And the ones that are not supportive, we need to forget where they live.
What if they are siblings?
What if they were where?
Siblings.
Siblings, brother. So I've got brothers and sisters, and I love them. And y'all know what afar is? Away. I love them from afar. I'm going to tell you, I love my brother and I love my sisters and all of that stuff. They're not worth my sobriety. They're not worth my recovery.
I'm going through that.
And I would just let those folks know that. Myself personally, now sometimes what my situation is not your situation. But if you're my brother and you love me enough to know that if we get together, you're going to threaten my recovery, we're not going to get together. Look, you eat turkey by yourself. I'm not gonna come and let you do that. But we can schedule appointments with a therapist, your counselor, coach, whoever we need to do that with. Add these appointments to your calendar and keep them. We can talk to our sponsor. We can talk to loved ones and have them regularly check in on you if they're part of your recovery team. Now, I have people that's part of my recovery team, have been part of my recovery team for 30 years. If y'all keep that up, you're going to kill them flies. Yeah. Where the flies coming from? There was one in the office in there and one in the hallway. I don't know.
Where you at?
Where's she at? There she is. See the girl dressed all in black.
Black is slimming.
Oh, it's black, it's slimming. Well, all right. So, and this is what we're doing this year. And I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be easy. At this point, I'm thinking about it every time. I think about it. It runs through my mind. Yeah, because I'm going to be losing some stuff over all of this. But establish some new traditions in your life. We had traditions, like I was telling you earlier, of going over to my sister-in-law's house. That we just, it got so bad that we just stopped going. The kids go over there, and we don't go. We stay at the house. And sooner or later, whatever gift they want to give us, we'll get it, and they'll get their gift sooner or later. But we don't go to that little meeting anymore because people are there that are using, and we don't need to be involved in that. As you affirm your sobriety, you choose to celebrate the new, better, sober life you've created. Do something different. Perhaps you can host a festive, sober gathering with friends in recovery, something like that. Start a new tradition. This is what we do on our thing. So my wife and I, we had this tradition that was going on forever and ever and ever. But there has to be a changing of the guard at some point. When you get older and older and older, the work gets harder and harder and harder. And at some point, you have to say, okay, we're done. Okay, and let the kids do that. Let the kids pick that up. So we're changing those things. So we may need to even get so extensive in the thing that instead of going to the family, we go to a sober thing where we can do something by bringing some people together that need to get together. There's a lot of people out there that are in their sobriety that would love to have an opportunity to come and have that situation with you. Last year, we had a young man and his wife that had no place to go for Thanksgiving. They came to our home, met our kids and everything, and they were at our home. And so that was a pretty, I met those same people there in our church, and we let them know this year you can't come to our house. We're changing our tradition.
That's very rude.
Yeah, pretty rude. Yeah. We just don't want you people over. Last time y'all came, were eating my food and broke wind in my chair, and we just don't want you over. No, we just let them know we're changing our tradition.
Who broke the wind?
I don't know.
You were
I don't remember. So here's the deal. Get some new traditions going on. Focus on the true spirit of the season. It's not about drinking and drugging and all of that kind of stuff. Regardless of your faith, regardless of your spiritual beliefs, the holidays are about giving and gratitude. When we focus on these, and stuff like resentment, anger, worry, disappointment, guilt, self-loathing, they tend to show up less. Right? They tend not to be there as much. Let's focus on what the season's about. We have a sign in our church hallway that says, Jesus is the reason. Well, we don't have the rest of that down there. We know he's the reason for the season. He's also the reason for Thursday. And the reason for next Wednesday. He's the reason for everything. Yeah, that was the point. Not just the 25th of December. So, so focus on the real reason for the season. We're supposed to look, Thanksgiving. We already said Thanksgiving is, and somebody asked, do you have to be thankful for turkey? Yeah. I am. I'm thankful for turkey. I'm thankful for having something to eat.
You're going to be thankful for whatever season you're going to take.
Yeah, and I really don't care. I'm thankful for whatever God has given me. So, a couple more things. We're just about going to quit here. Cope with cravings. Write a list of What helps you cope? Calling a loved one, reading recovery books, exercising, and I'm a real big thing about exercising. Exercising is great. If you have a craving, you have a desire, exercise. Do the best that you can, and that will release endorphins into your body.
I got it.
I'm so glad flies don't stand a chance around him. Yeah. I heard that Mr. Q in there said, "Yeah, we're going to make some oatmeal in the morning with raisins."
Uh-oh. That's the fly.
Maybe say raisins crunch like that. Yeah, raisins got little wings on. Yeah. So, and you can't think of anything. Just stay sober 1 minute at a time, and things are going to look well. So, what else? If you can't look, if you get into the situation and you can't do it, you just look. It's not working. You know you're into a place where you're just about to start fiending, all of that kind of stuff. Then consider rehab. Consider coming back. Holidays. Consider something. There's some places. I don't think this is one of them, but there are some places you can go before you relapse. This is not one of them, but there's some places you can go. So, questions, comments, or snide remarks? All right, we'll shut down just a little bit early, but I'm going to be over there north